Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to Bryant VRM. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas, a happy holiday season, and hope you all have a happy new year. Today, we're going to end my month of Spider-Man reviews by focusing on a TV show that only aired for one season, around 13 episodes. I never had the chance to actually finish it until recently, and that is for the TV show Spider-Man Unlimited. It first debuted in 1999 on Fox, and again, only aired for one season. The show featured the voice actor Rhino Romano as Spider-Man. As most of you know, Rhino Romano also voiced Spider-Man in the PlayStation video games Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro. The actor would eventually go on to voice Batman in the animated series The Batman. Now, I will let you know before we get started, there will be some spoilers for this review, but with that out of the way, let's get started. Peter Parker witnesses Venom and Carnage attempting to infiltrate a space shuttle piloted by John Jameson. He attempts to stop them as Spider-Man, but fails and Jameson's shuttle disappears. Spider-Man is of course blamed for the incident, resulting in the city turning against him. John Jameson is later revealed to be alive and in an alternate dimension called Counter-Earth. Spider-Man builds a new nanotech suit and travels to Counter-Earth to rescue Jameson and clear his name. He learns that Counter-Earth is inhabited by humanoid animals known as bestials, and that the humans are oppressed by an evil figure known as the High Evolutionary and a group known as the Knights of Wundagore. And Jameson is a part of the Human Rebellion, which Spider-Man soon joins as well. Overall, this series had an interesting concept that I thought was not bad. Had it continued, I would have been interested to see it through to the end because I did like the direction they were potentially taking the story in. But unfortunately, all we got was the cliffhanger ending. While the story wasn't my favorite, there were parts of it that were intriguing, and I will say that it had some surprisingly pretty dark moments in it. The show featured things like prejudice between the bestials and the humans, which occasionally resulted in violence. Some of that was because a few of the villains orchestrated it, but still was pretty intense. It even featured scientific experimentation on children. There's a character named Git Hoskins who was kidnapped by the Knights of Wundagore as a child, and they performed some mad science and turned him into a mummy-like figure. No more flesh and bone, just walking bandages in which he has the ability to transform or manipulate his bandages at will. The series' main villain, the High Evolutionary, from the comics, was interesting. He's a human that has resentment towards humanity and wants to rid the world of humanity by turning everyone into bestials, forcing some humans to live in oppression. What was interesting was that not everyone who followed the High Evolutionary agreed with his attitude towards humans, but they still followed him. The show did have some humor, of course, with Spider-Man's witty comebacks, and even had some running gags. We see mostly this bestial who every time he's driving always ends up in the middle of the action between Spider-Man and the villains, and at one point they either land on his car or interrupt his driving in some way. Was it hilarious? Not really, but I did chuckle a time or two. The series had several composers, but the main theme was by Jeremy Sweet and Ian Nickus, and I enjoyed it. I thought it had a good blend of sci-fi with a superhero secret agent-like vibe, and on that note, I thought the opening credits were pretty well done, and the graphics were impressive. I also want to point out the animation for the series as a whole. I thought it was really cool. It was like reading an actual comic book. And even some of the subtitles were in that comic book style format. Now, I do keep going back and forth on the design of Spider-Man's new suit. I like that it's a remote-controlled nanotech suit with built-in sonic waves to repel the symbiotes that comes out of a watch-like device on his wrist. It reminded me of that ring that the Flash keeps his suit in. However, this design overall seemed a little too much. The web cape was pretty cool, though. It reminded me of Spider-Man 2099. And speaking of which, the show itself had somewhat of a Spider-Man 2099 vibe to it as well. I don't remember them ever revealing if Counter-Earth is the same year as real Earth, but it's definitely more advanced with high-tech weapons and other futuristic stuff like flying cars and such. My only other complaint about his suit was that it was a little too convenient. It was used several times to get him out of serious situations, such as to override machinery with his sonic blasts, and could even project holograms of his suit when he's seen as Peter Parker to protect his identity, which does happen at least once. Apart from Venom and Carnage, who I'm going to talk about in just a bit, This show features appearances of a few of Spidey's other villains, just not always in the same way. We get alternate versions of Kraven the Hunter, who just goes by The Hunter. We also get the Vulture and Electro, which I thought was funny when they made Electro an electric eel bestial, with some hints to his classic costume like the lightning bolts on his face. I couldn't help but wonder if that was what inspired the electric eel origin of Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And finally, we get a few appearances from the Green Goblin, who is more of a hero in this world and has worked with Spider-Man on several occasions. We even get Man-Wolf near the mid to end of the season. Most of you may be aware that Man-Wolf is actually John Jameson, who also became Man-Wolf in the comics. As mentioned, the series starts off with Venom and Carnage. Their plan is to travel to Counter-Earth and start a symbiote invasion infecting the world with symbiotes. I liked the new design of Carnage. It looked pretty creepy, but I thought Venom was maybe a little too bulky. He looked like the symbiote infected the Hulk. I did like the spines protruding from his back, though. One of my favorite episodes revolves around the Venom symbiote being separated from Eddie Brock, which is actually killing Brock because he was bonded to it for so long, and Spider-Man agrees to save him by putting the black suit on again just so that he can attach it to Brock to save his life. That was a well-written episode, and I liked how it shows just how much of a hero Spider-Man is when he has to save one of his most dangerous foes from death. Now, do I recommend that you check out Spider-Man Unlimited? Sure, but just don't get too committed to it, as again, it only aired for one season and it did end on a cliffhanger. If you'd like to check out this show, you can find it on Disney+. For my overall grade, I'm going to give it a C+. Again, it was a fun story and had some parts of it that were enjoyable. Overall, it was just not bad. It did have some great animation and great music. But guys, that's going to do it for this review and for my reviews of 2021. Thank you all again so much for another great year here on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, as always, please be sure to hit that like button. And please consider subscribing to my channel if you'd like to stay updated for the content to come in 2022. Guys, thank you all again so much. Have a happy and fun and safe New Year's Eve, and I'll see you guys next time.